Hello everyone, Dr. Suneel Dhand. Welcome to another video. This is a momentous week in the United States. We have the midterm elections tomorrow, Tuesday, November the 8th. And I know most of my viewers are in the United States, a lot are not. And for those people who are overseas and haven't seen it on the news, the midterm elections occur in the middle of every presidential cycle, and the control of Congress rests in the balance, the Senate and the House of Representatives. And make no mistake, the results of the election will have enormous consequences, not just for the United States, but also the entire world. And I'd like to focus specifically on what this means for looking at how we dealt with the pandemic and also learning lessons going forward. But before I do that, in the interest of full disclosure, I am a dual United Kingdom and United States citizen. I grew up in the UK, and I've been a US citizen for a few years now. And it was one of the proudest moments of my life when I became a US citizen. I have, since the age of 18, voted for both left and right-wing candidates in both the UK and the US. I vote much more for the candidate than the political party. I think I may even be officially registered independent in the United States. But I'm sure those of you who regularly watch my videos know what my own views are on a number of different issues. And without mentioning any political party, I know exactly which candidates I will be voting for tomorrow, according to my own views on what's happened over the last couple of years with a variety of things, including lockdowns, prolonged school closures, unethical mandates, and also other really major issues, including how safe I and other people around me feel in our neighborhood, how the government and local leaders deal with criminals, how the economy is doing. All of these things will play a big role in how I cast my vote tomorrow. But coming back to the United States as a constitutional federal republic, because I think a lot of Americans don't realize this, but one of the beauties of our system, now I spend a lot of time criticizing US institutions, rightly so. They deserve a lot of criticism. Many of them are utterly terrible, including many of our medical establishments. However, two things that I have always loved and still love about the United States are the people and also the Constitution. And one of the really great things about the US Constitution and how the Founding Fathers designed everything in a genius way. The Founding Fathers were complete geniuses. They deliberately designed a system that would promote gridlock. A lot of Americans don't realize this, but that was always the intention. Because power corrupts, and absolute power really corrupts. It is very, very difficult in the United States for any one party to have complete control. Unlike many countries, including the UK, where you can get these sweeping changes, in the United States, we have a deliberate system to promote gridlock and checks and balances, and different states do things differently, but it is very, very difficult for any one leader or political party to institute sweeping change, and I think that's a good thing. So let's move on now to what the implications are of looking into what's happened previously over the last couple of years with regards to the pandemic, and also moving forward. The first thing that I would like to focus on are these unethical mandates, which are still existing in many pockets of the United States, but also at a federal level as well. Let's think of a big one. If you are a foreign citizen and you want to enter the country legally, of course, if you enter illegally, none of these rules apply. But if you come in legally by air, by sea, or you drive into the country across the border and present your documentation, you still have to show proof of being jabbed. And the ridiculous thing about this is that that proof could be from January 2021. But the United States still has this rule in place. It's one of the only major Western advanced countries that still does this. It makes no sense at all, and it underscores not only how unethical these mandates are, but how utterly illogical and unscientific they are as well. So I think the election, depending on the results, may have huge consequences, especially if you're electing candidates who can see how ridiculous these mandates are. Secondly, Dr. Anthony Fauci. He has become a very divisive and polarizing figure. Again, I know how I feel about Dr. Fauci, but it is abundantly clear that if there's a big change in Washington, D.C., he is going to be facing more investigations. And I think some of these questions are entirely legitimate. Now, the first question is, the pandemic origins, the lab leak theory. I don't know if it can still be called only a theory, because a lot of mainstream publications are now saying this seems more likely than a natural event. And think about this for a moment. We've had an event, this pandemic, that has turned the whole world on its head for a couple of years. Think about all of the people who have lost their lives as a result of the pandemic and are still losing their lives as a result of the botched pandemic response. The fact that this could have been a man-made event is absolutely horrific to even contemplate. And I am not sure why medical establishments, I'm thinking in the United States here, have zero interest in getting to the bottom of this. Now, maybe a full investigation is done and it is inconclusive, but there is enough evidence now to suggest that this lab leak theory seems more likely than not. And my question for Dr. Fauci that I would like to see thoroughly investigated is, did he know right from the beginning that this could have been a lab leak? Was there even a hint in any email communication, any other paper trail that this could have been the case? Because the consequences of that, even just the thought that the person leading the pandemic response could have thought that in his mind from the beginning, is just too horrible to even contemplate. But he will be facing questions with regards to this. And I think it's quite right. And maybe he's found completely innocent. Who knows? I'm not assuming anything, but I would like to see these questions seriously being asked and an investigation launched into the pandemic origins and what any figures at the top of government may have known about this. Big Pharma and their relationship with top officials in the United States who are making pandemic decisions. Now, there is no excuse for anything less than full transparency and honesty in healthcare and medicine. And I don't know why this is even a controversial issue and why major US medical establishments and institutions don't support it, but don't you think the US public has a right to know the top officials who are making key decisions over the last couple of years, what payments, what other conflicts of interest might they have had? We deserve to know. And what I find so astonishing is that traditionally it was always the left that was associated with being anti-big business, that was always questioning the motives of big business. And it was the right who were completely in the pockets of big business. We've seen a complete flip in the United States where it's now the right who is now more willing to be skeptical of big business, and it is the left who are much more in the pockets of big business. I'm not sure how that flip happened. It's really weird. But to be quite frank, I'm not entirely optimistic of any political party solving this problem, because we know the reality of big pharma's billions and billions of dollars and their enormous influence. The fact that 2/3 of Congress cashes a check from big pharma and their enormous lobbying influence. So really, will any political party be best placed to change anything? Finally, the ability to question the science more. Anyone who has read anything about the history of science and medicine, read a history book, the last 500 years of medicine and science, should know that 4 of the most dangerous words in the English language are, the scientific consensus says. It encourages intellectual laziness, it encourages robotic thinking, and it allows bad players, whether they're doctors, scientists, or anyone else with authoritarian tendencies and a desire for power and control, to take charge. Science is about questioning. You never accept the science. You always ask questions, and you hold anyone in the field to complete account. So if anything, I'm hoping that if there's a big change in Washington, D.C., it may encourage a break in this notion that you can't question the science. Science is there for questioning. And we've had this weird alliance between big government with big business, especially big pharma, and the medical establishments who are completely in lockstep. And I do not think that that is healthy, especially when there are powerful financial motivations involved as well. So those are my thoughts on what may well change if we see a big change in power in Washington, D.C. So I will be casting my vote when I'm done with my day off work in the hospital tomorrow. I hope everyone out there listening, no matter what your politics are, who you're going to vote for, that you exercise your right to vote. It is a civic duty, and if you haven't already voted by mail-in ballot, please do go and vote tomorrow, because as Winston Churchill said, democracy is the worst form of government out there, apart from all others. Do let me know your thoughts down below. Dr. Suneel Dhand. Hit the subscribe button for more similar videos in the future. Also hit the bell button so you get notified when I make more videos. And do come follow me on my uncensored platform, locals.com, where we have more open, honest discussions away from this environment of big tech, censorship, and silencing. Really sad I need to say that in the United States, but I do. That link is down below. We will talk again very soon.